Scorpio Mercury retrograde, right? What does Mercury want to do in retrograde of Scorpio? What Mercury wants to do is bring up what we had hesitation or reservations about speaking on, mentioning. And reason included in this is because of the fact that it was about our vulnerability when it comes to sharing intimacy. If I say this, if I express this, you might say or do, or you might react in a way that hurts me, or that makes me feel insecure, fearful, reminds me of certain rejections and issues that I've been through at that what? The Aries Chiron expression, bringing it back up again. I'm reliving that. So there might be a lot of ways that I feel about you, or that I think about you, that I want to say, I want to mention, things I want to put on the record. And it could be the good and the bad. There might be thoughts that I really want to share, but just want to make sure that there's the safe space for it. Do we have the safe space for it to be spoken on, addressed, or just simply nonchalantly expressed, So it's about giving each other the confidence to get there. We have to give each other the confidence to be vulnerable. People have been through a lot. There's been a lot of pain inflicted, regret, injury, suffering, things like that. And everybody's not so forthcoming, is so quick, just to be expressing from the depth. It takes time because trauma was involved in this. But the retrograde, it causes us to have to confront it. It causes us to have to finally address it. And it doesn't mean there has to be a big fallout. Who else is there in Scorpio? Black Moon Lilith in the Sun, right? And what does that let us know? Some of this subject matter is about things that we felt ashamed of. Things that we felt too embarrassed, too humiliated, or too insecure to mention, because it might reveal a status or an expression of our identity that we want to be free to express, but we just don't want to be judged for. We don't want to be criticized for. These lessons in intimacy is helping us to get to the authenticity that should be there, the full representation of the self. And that's what we get out of Sagittarius. That's what Sagittarius is about. So we had to come back here to clarify these things. So in forward motion, we have the ability to move vulnerably, bravely, and authentic. Sincere. The new moon Scorpio is coming. That's a new beginning, off to a new start concerning these things. If it's not clear already, let's clarify it and make it clear the fact that this is a turning point opportunity for all of us collectively. And that every one of us should see that there's trust upon us. There's trust upon us to honor the mutual need for vulnerability and intimacy in all of our life affairs. That we should become trustworthy with each other's imperfections and secrets, flaws, and the fact that none of us live up to the perfect image or perfect status. We can choose collectively together, consciously, that we can let go of any attempt to live up to those standards that simply oppressed us at the end of the day. It made a lot of money for corporate America, for the corporate West, but it destroyed our families. It destroyed our psyche, our emotions, and it's so distrust between us and competition. We have a choice to facilitate new ideals of relationships that are consistent with matriarchal intent of Cancer Jupiter. Internally, we are connecting with Jupiter, finding our goodwill, finding optimism and good attitude, which is the reverse of what we suffered to learn when Mars was retrograde in Cancer, coming from a healed perspective of ourself, of enthusiasm, and positioning ourselves to show up in depth for each other where we're really needed, in depth with each other. Everyone wants to be known in the depth. Everyone. And we want to know that we're not going to be betrayed or injured by the information or experience that you're being trusted with. That's what we all want to know. The deep connections is what we're trying to get to. The overall lesson of intimacy we're trying to learn so we can get to authentic standing, authentic being. We all want to breathe. We all want to finally be ourselves, not internet ideals. Neptune is finishing Pisces. It was a Pisces-Neptune transit that brought in these lessons that we learned concerning ideals expressed over the internet that got us too far away from realistic standards, expectations, and intentions of ourselves. But with Neptune going back into Aries, it returns back to the self, the identity, the authentic identity. I am. Who am I? Leading with that, we get to be ourselves again. This is not only the one-on-one, but remember, we're creating our tribes. The tribe should be a place of trust. The tribe should be a community of trust, where everybody's safe to be exactly who they are and celebrated for being who they are. This doesn't mean that there should be acceptance for what is vile, for what is shameful, for what is harmful in character, for what is harmful in practice. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying be negligent. I'm saying be self-accepting after we have overcome negligence. Scorpio new moon is following behind what's being prepped right now. Scorpio new moon. The full moon is when you've worked all day, you know what I mean, in the same pair of drawers, and it's time to take them funky motherfuckers off. You heard? It's time to take them off and soak your ass in the tub. The new moon, alright? The new moon. That's when you put on a fresh pair. Understand? You know what I mean? You put on a fresh, cozy pair. Off to a new start concerning 8th house context. So based on the things that I'm going to discuss in this discourse, it directly correlates to, holds the meaning of the Scorpio full moon. The Scorpio new moon. It's a new phase in all of the things that I'm going to express in this discourse, which is, it's a new phase, a new beginning in experiencing life with the ability, the courage, and the confidence to express intimacy, to relate to and identify with intimacy, to overcome the shame of the past, the fear, vulnerability, letting go of, attempting to be so perfect, changing our value system and what we value based on that, and that goes with the full moon Taurus, getting grounded, getting realistic, getting sincere, okay? And this is coming together with the new moon Scorpio. We have a new approach now to the 8th house, and it includes the realization of the self as being a trust holder of your brother and sister, being a trust holder of your neighbor, being a trust holder of your community and family, of your tribe. You are upholding a trust. That we trust each other with the secrets of one another, the vulnerabilities and sensitivities of each other, the intimate needs of each other, and we honor it. We honor it. This is a new cycle of being able to connect finally deeply without including control, shame, and attachment. Understand? The fruit of this is a Sagittarius stellium. The fruit of the new moon Scorpio is Sagittarius stellium. Sagittarius stellium manifesting the state of being in your truth, in what is true for you. The state of being natural, the state of being authentic, the state of being sincere, the state of being fully expressed and actualized. Mercury dipped back into the death card, Scorpio. The stellium is transferring from the death card into the fool card. We don't know what to expect. We don't know what will be. Sagittarius doesn't need to know. What Sagittarius does know is that experience is the best teacher. That if I'm not willing, fool's card journey, okay? If I'm not willing to be vulnerable, if I'm not willing to take risk and chances, I'm not willing to grow. I'm not willing to expand. It can't happen until I chance that. It's inevitable that somebody's going to injure you. Somebody's going to offend you. Somebody's going to wrong you. It's going to happen. But guess what? That's why you came to earth, to pass through these things. And you will not avoid these things. And as we get higher in frequency, we start to realize that these are things that we can't even take personal. It's simply a learning catalyst. We are contracted to each other on a soul level to enlighten each other through such experiences and transformations. You have to take the good with the bad. Understand? The thorn with the flower, not separate. Scorpio new moon, 28 degrees Scorpio. The king of the fairies approaching his domain. This is a symbol of the eternal promise underlying all inner self-realization, since any actual fullness of life is altogether independent of the passing state of affairs in a world of time and space. Implicit in the symbolism is a futility of man's common reliance on people and things through some mere accident of contact. Outer reality takes the form with which he endows it as he exercises his sovereignty over its various potentials in the creative realms of his own imagination. The key word is allegiance. When positive, the degree is a special competence of inward vision and a consequent outward perspective of high effectiveness. And when negative, capricious self-indulgence. So let me highlight that what's being expressed is the key word is allegiance. And when positive, the degree is a special competence of inward vision. A special competence of inward vision. Competence and vision. This is Jupiter, competence, and vision, Neptune. Internally retrograde. Okay, inward competence and vision. This full moon is in trine to both Neptune and Jupiter in retrograde motion, Pisces and Cancer. Jupiter at the seat of the inner child, and Neptune in the heavens of the imagination, Pisces. And this is seeking inwards for that allegiance to what is expressed there when we look inward. And what does that do? It reflects outward what intent we are to incorporate in what we create of circumstances, experiences, terms, missions. And in this new beginning, it includes that competent vision of the internal authority that guides us to all of our solutions toward personal empowerment, which then leads to the Sagittarius stellium of newfound freedom and exploration. Understand, I want to certainly make sure that I give credit again. I read this insert from The Sabian Symbols in Astrology by Dr. Mark Edmund Jones, just to put that on notice. Make sure I give credit there. So, this new moon includes the power of this trine. And when we think about competence, what have we come to understand about our responsibility, our moral responsibility, that could have been learned from the Cancer Mars retrograde and Jupiter direct transit? What are we learning? What does that competence look like in our awareness of what our emotional needs are, domestic needs, and the vulnerabilities that are there in your life for you that reflects your awareness of what vulnerability is there for your family, tribe, or community as well? It's a reflection. Same with Pisces. Concepts, vision. Concepts and vision that are not borrowed from the pressure of status quo. That's not borrowed from social engineering of media. But through making contact with Neptune, through faith, conviction, spiritual clarity, and the power of imagination, simply put, do you own your imagination finally? Scorpio and Sagittarius is teaching us a lot about the transfer from truth into freedom and the alignment of truth into the embodiment of truth. Unique enough. What's the basis of this lesson? What's the basis of this lesson? It really begins with intimacy. That's where it really starts. Who are you in intimacy? How do you relate to intimacy? What levels of vulnerability can you reach? Transparency. How deep can you connect with another person? That is what begets the spirit of Sagittarius. How deep can you get? How deep can you get in vulnerability with other people? That begets the spirit of Sagittarius, where you're able to transfer conviction, faith, passion, optimism, truth, creativity, freedom and expression, openness and not vagueness. Starts in Scorpio. What tends to prevent us are our conclusions. Conclusions in 8th house matters. The conclusions in 8th house matters, it determines embodiment, and 9th house matters. It determines what we have access to in the 9th house. What do you conclude from 8th house matters? We all have memories when we took a chance to be vulnerable, to take a risk, to let someone know something about us that could hurt us, see something about us that can hurt us, tell a story. Little details, let you in a little bit, give you a tour of how the inner workings of myself operates, what makes you laugh will make you cry. So we hesitate to laugh when we want to laugh. We hesitate to cry when we want to cry. We don't want to give that much control. What we remember is being powerless, feeling powerless. We remember feeling vulnerable, helpless, unable and incapable of moving beyond that sense of vulnerability and intimidation of someone having that much power over you or control over you. It takes a while to come full circle to realize that it's something that we give away. It's not something that somebody can take. We're learning that intimacy is the route to authenticity. It's how we get there. Some of us think that it's about the deep isolation, running off somewhere, getting away from everybody, closing the door. Yes, those are appropriate and necessary steps in aligning yourself and getting right with yourself. You have to do those things in certain seasons. Let's not pretend that we don't know what the other portion of that work is. And that's that at some point you have to come out of the wilderness. You have to come out of the deep woods. And you have to connect again. The 8th house is a house of empowerment, disillusionment. Without empowerment, we don't remain current in our status of power. Without disillusionment, we don't remain aligned with truth in the story that we're living out. We're just running away conveniently, running and hiding, shook behind a rock, behind a tree, waving the white flag scared shitless that somebody might know who you really are. Guess what, people? We don't have access anymore to the things that we used to hide behind. The purchasing power of America has plummeted. Americans can't buy shit. Yeah, you see it, you know it, and you relate to it. The power to purchase lifestyles, images, personifications, we lost our hiding spots. We lost it. We lost access to the magic, to wave that magical wand of the dollar, the credit card, and influence through the internet. You could be anybody you want to be through a camera phone. Purchase, swipe, spend, buy, consume. Take out loans. Bank loan after bank loan. Debt upon debt. To look like you are something you're not. To look like you enjoy a status of financial capacity, success and accomplishment and career, a caliber of ambition, entrepreneurship, conveniently making sure that you mention over and over again what your college degrees are. These are all hiding spots. The title of your professional career, who you know, getting in front of the camera to use your looks and your body to influence the people rather than the actual value of your wisdom, rather than actual talent. Just the magic of sex. America is in such a circumstance, such a crisis, economically, socially, to where we no longer have access to these spells, witchcraft and magic, by which we could wave the wand and be something that we're not. We're exposed. Here we are, we're exposed. In a little while, when we get through this winter, it's all going to be dried up. We all know there are many who are struggling to try to maintain it, to keep up that fake image. It's going to break us if that's what we're trying to do. The number 9 vibration, South Node, Virgo. It's working against the detriment of Venus to make sure that we don't have that relapse. That we do not go back into that distraction of what is being concentrated into the incorporation of the spirit. And that is clarity in the identity. We will not have access to excess. We will surely have abundance, but we won't have excess. There's a difference. You will always have abundance, but you won't have excess. The excess to express luxury. The luxury to pretend to be something that you're not. It's going to break your back if you try to do it. And it's set up that way. It's designed that way because there's a particular focus that we collectively are supposed to have right now. And that is pour into the real person. Bring out the real person. Be the real person. Express the real person. Love from the real person. Connect from the real person. Design a lifestyle according to and consistent with and reflection of the real person. Not our imitations of lofty ideals and muse that we see on the internet and entertainment industry. That story's over. And those are the things that disrupted our ability to experience intimacy. Because through the South Node Virgo, we are being reminded karmically that these excessive narcissistic ideals of ourselves, that we are to be so perfect in how we look, perfect in our body, perfect in our lifestyle, perfect in our financial, economic, social status, perfect in every image, flawless. And out of that insecurity, we project that insecurity onto others, canceling every person who fails to show up as perfect as we ourselves are not able to achieve. The empty narcissist. Dismissing, canceling, deleting, shooing away every imperfect being, which is the entire humanity. We all are imperfect. Neptune Pisces transit. Obama era. It brought in a level of narcissism like never known before through the internet. We're healing. We're detoxing. That's why Venus is starving us out of having access to her in an exploitative measure. We will not have access to exploitation of Venus. Look at all that we have lost since Trump's administration has begun. We lost everything that was enabling us to continue on the separation, division, narcissism, arrogance, false expression status, and reputations, even down to fucking food stamps and the welfare state. I'm 42. I don't know about you, but I grew up hearing these stories and seeing it in action. Where the welfare state comes in with a hidden hand, giving people of society, certain people of society, delusional ideals of security, stability, and independence. And then talking shit to the ones who don't have access to such privileges. And what lifestyle they can afford from their own sweat and labor. Meanwhile, in the welfare state, selling food stamps, trading food stamps, $60 for rent, $120 for rent, $200 a month for rent, subsidized rent. Y'all know what I'm talking about. pulling up big, expensive vehicles to these same properties. Louis Vuitton now. Back in the day, the Donna Karens and the Tommy Hilfigers, and these days, the European fashion labels. Expensive clothes and shoes and jewelry and all these other different things, outings. But you on food stamps. You're on welfare. You in Section 8 housing. It's narcissism. Unrealistic and delusional overestimations of the self based on superficial means of calibrating value. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. And I want you to appreciate that I'm also trying to be considerate of sensitive ears. So I left it as a general statement, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Can't fake it no more. This winter is like, it's parallel to the seasons. Scorpio season, the leaves on the tree, they start to die. They start to change beautiful colors as death overtakes life in preparation for winter. In a little while, you will see no leaves on the tree, just bare branches, snow, ice, gray skies. The winter. Not a trace of plant life. Where we're headed at, we're becoming the dry stubble, the leafless branches that stand in a cold winter. Because we got to heal, we got to purify. That's what winter does. It purifies. It sets the basis of renewal for new life. Keep in mind, we still have Leo South Node transit. Y'all know what that's about. Down goes narcissism. The spirit of narcissism gets purged. The spirit of selfishness gets purged. Self-centered spirit. Self-entitlement. The need for so much damn attention and validation. The look at me syndrome. Every act of sincerity, every good act, every noble act is but a lie with a hidden intent of gaining validation and attention, clout. Leo South Node transit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Narcissism is going to be burned and disintegrated. Understand? It ain't going to be about you. It's going to be about us. Get over yourself. It's not going to be about what you have glorified of yourself. It's going to be about the value of wisdom that you have cultivated in life through your struggles and experiences that serves us, that benefits us. Aquarius. North Node. We took our own intimacy away in participating with these things in our world. We took our intimacy away. We haven't seen intimacy since Neptune entered Pisces, where the internet started to gain its strength, sorcery, magic, and witchcraft over our societies. And all of the images, the pictures, the swiping, the posting, the status that did nothing but program and socially engineer the people to fell themselves into a narcissistic trance of themselves. Superficiality that prevents the depth of intimacy. Sex in these days, speaking of intimacy, is completely transactional in males and females. I come from a generation where females still thought of sex as something sacred, as something intimate, as something special. I'm sure there are many who still hold those sentiments. Thank God. But none of us can deny how common it has become to witness how females have been brainwashed and socially engineered to lose their respect for their self and reverence for their own womb, their dignity, and we find them celebrating prostitution, celebrating transactional behaviors around sex, pairing money and sex together with pride. We're in serious trouble if we don't fix that, if we don't heal that. That can never be good. Come on, you know what I'm talking about here. So we can't get to the intimacy, and the reason for that, we know it has a lot to do with what's going on at Virgo's South Node, the context of Virgo's South Node. Understand? This has a lot of similarities to Virgo in the 12th house. You think that you're supposed to pull off a perfect status, a status that cannot be scrutinized, a worth and value that cannot be overlooked or denied, a permanent place of value that cannot be negotiated, irreplaceable. It's about escaping scrutiny, escaping criticism. Having everything so perfect, so right, so good, that no one can criticize, judge, or examine you. You're above examination. The infamous astrologist is very honest. I'm very blunt. And there's an instinctual, there are intuitive, instinctual thoughts that I have to learn to not speak. So you're going to have to keep up with me from now on, because I'm trying to heal my communication. But I can think of a particular example of where somebody in American society walks the earth thinking that they're above correction, above scrutiny, above examination. Who gon' check me, boo? I'm not even gonna say who, but y'all know who I'm talking about. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. It's my nature to just go ahead and say it, but I know y'all can't handle that shit. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Who gonna check me, boo? Defining narcissism, exemplifying narcissism, embodying narcissism, while calling all of her partners narcissists if it didn't work. The hypocrisy. Who gonna check me, boo? I'm above correction. I'm above examination. Everything about me is perfect. It is right. It is level. It is square. If you're checking behind me, you better be perfect. You better be right. You better be as perfect as me. Oh, what type of significant other are you looking for? They better be perfect. They better have it all together. They better be at the finish line. Look like a model. A whole bunch of money. And the ability to never make me feel unhappy or insecure. Impossible. Assigning the responsibility of your happiness, of your peace, of your contentment, and even of your own entertainment to another person that you call your significant other. The foolery and entitlement that we walk the earth with. Look how we got into the habit of writing perfectly qualified persons. We write them off because they're not perfect. Or because we're not ready to expose the fact that we ourselves are not perfect. So you just go ahead and sabotage it real quick. Get it over with. It's not going to work anyway because I'm not perfect. And they're not perfect. So I'm just going to set it on fire and then blame it on them. Make it look like they're the reason why I couldn't follow through with it, because I didn't have the courage to be intimate and revealing of myself. The sabotage. Your Scorpio placement. That's where it's at. In your 8th house. That's what you want to be perfect, but it's not. Your Virgo placement. That's what you want to be perfect, but it's not. So we're not able to connect. We're not able to come together. Because superficiality has come to rule the occasion of connection. So everyone's intimidated to come together. People are afraid to come together. Guess what? I come from the generation before this shit happened. Yeah, boys and girls. I come from the generation before this bullshit happened. We were able to come together, being ourselves. We were able to connect being ourselves. Everybody didn't have to be pretending to be rich, to be successful, to be powerful, to be independent, to be an entrepreneur, to be a boss bitch, to be a maid nigga, to have this status and that status, this degree, this accomplishment, thousands or millions of dollars in the bank, perfect credit score, a really nice car, nice house behind a gated community. People were not faking before Neptune got into Pisces to the extent that we have to recover from it. It wasn't that fucking bad. It wasn't that bad. Hoopties was a common thing when I was growing up. You weren't ashamed of the hoopty that you had. You showed up in it and you had a good time. You were not ashamed of being a working class citizen, having a 9-to-5, going through the same bullshit that everybody else is going through. And most people living from check to fucking check. We don't celebrate it. It's not something to brag about. But we damn sure weren't ashamed of it, trying to hide it. Men and women were able to connect on what was realistic and sincere. It wasn't perfect. But the narcissism was not so exponential. People were able to show up being their self, not someone that they're not. We allowed the internet to do this. We allowed media to do this. And you shouldn't feel personally attacked for me to admit the fact, highlight the fact, to refresh in our memory of the fact that females were used to socialize the people into this attitude and perception of themselves. And so is hip-hop music, which includes males. Hip-hop music has had this message long before internet was so popular. It wasn't until they started using females to socialize this ideal that is stuck. The idea that we're not allowed to be normal, we're not allowed to be happy and content at $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. We're supposed to feel automatically ashamed, belittle ourselves, look down on ourselves, think ourselves less than. If we're not rich, if we're not making six figures. You're not allowed to be content with what you have. You're not allowed to be content with who you are. You're not allowed to be happy and content with what you have created of yourself in life. You have to look down on yourself and be ashamed if your status does not match an Instagram post ideal. If it does not match that which rappers and hip-hop artists are suggesting is the acceptable standard. We're supposed to hang our head down low and feel ashamed. Hide your face. If you're not the perfect supermodel, if you're not some ball and drug dealer, if you're not an entrepreneurial status, if you don't have several degrees, you're supposed to hang your head down low and feel ashamed if you're a normal, regular person. You failed in life if you are a normal, regular person. A 9-to-5 blue-collar man is broken, dusty, according to what modern females have coined as a local expression. You're broken, dusty if you take her on a coffee date for the first date. If you respect your financial status by counting your dollars, budgeting your books, instead of spending recklessly in order to please and appease the female who you want to take out, breaking the bank, destabilizing yourself, breaking yourself, being irresponsible with your finances in order to please a female. You are shamed, disrespected, and written off if you do not comply. If you take her to Chili's, you're broke. If you take her to Cheesecake Factory, you're broke and you're dusty. It has to be 5 stars or better. It gotta be Benihana's. It has to be a prominent steakhouse, 5-star restaurant. Who's winning and who's losing when we submit to this social engineering tactic? Who's winning? Corporate America is winning. They are laughing to the bank as we insult each other, as we belittle each other for being human. They are laughing to the bank as we insult and shame each other for doing the best we can with what we have access to. They are laughing to the bank as females pull off their marketing strategy of shaming men into overexerting themselves in order to achieve a financial status high enough to feel confident to approach a female and engage a female, lowering the probability of being shamed or disrespected for being average in status. It's working like a well-oiled machine. This is magic. It is witchcraft. It is sorcery. And we are not showing, improving, and demonstrating our spiritual awareness, authority, power, and leverage that we have. And we're the ones who's hurting from it. We're the ones who's suffering. Marriages are at an all-time low. Divorces at an all-time high. Everybody's scared of each other in society. Nobody wants to connect, boy and girl. I grew up in a time where boys used to chase girls. Live to get up in the day and get a girl's attention. Get a girl to look at him. The height to life, the zenith of life, is having access to girls. To the average male in America, it is mission impossible. Because girls are clarifying that they're only interested in the 1% or less. And they're willing to share and fight over and humiliate themselves over the 1% or less. Young men are sexless for the first time in society by majority percentages. Never thought I'd see this time. Shame has been weaponized against us, and point of shame is being taught to us. Black Moon Lilith, in combination with South Node Transit Virgo, yes, it's about owning shame, claiming shame, believing in the sorcery and magic of shame. I'm not rich. I don't make six figures. I can't afford all these name brand, high-end fashion, European fashion labels. I don't have a big, fancy, expensive car. I don't have a big, nice house with Italian marble. I don't have a credit score of 800, 900, goddamn 1000. I can't afford to take a girl to all these expensive restaurants. I can't take my shirt off and look like a fucking model. I'm not picture perfect. We are intimidated by the standards set by corporate monsters who use females and rap music to uphold it. And it destroys the family unit. It destroys the legacy of family. It destroys the integrity of marriages and relationships. It puts curse and burden and shame between man and woman. It confuses the reasons for which they argue and see differences. It causes an inability to connect at a deep and intimate, sincere level. So we don't get to experience love, trust, and mutual respect and honor, admiration for each other. We don't get to experience it. We are expelled out of heaven. At Scorpio, we're dealing with where we fail to connect because of fear of intimacy. Where we don't want nobody to know that we're human. That there's a limitation to our capacity, there's a limitation to our power, there's a limitation to our intelligence, there's a limitation to our financial status, there's a limitation to our influence, there's a limitation to everything about us. We don't want anybody to know of those limitations. We feel vulnerable. And the projection is that you might be just as limited as me, and reflect it back onto me that I am limited, that I am imperfect. So I can't let you be called by my name. I can't let you be associated with me. I can't claim you. It's toxicity. Toxicity and sabotage that we pretend that we didn't commit. Sabotaging in order to avoid learning intimacy, cutting it off before we have to be vulnerable. And that vulnerability includes the acceptance of self and the acceptance of others. I can't accept others if I don't accept myself. If I learn how to accept myself, I learn how to accept others and their imperfections and the things about them that maybe I don't like or don't agree with. But guess what? There's things about yourself that you don't like or that you don't agree with. And some of it you have the power to change and some of it you don't. So in giving yourself that grace and forgiveness and acceptance and humility, you learn how to afford it for others. How many of us have access to the appropriate persons in our life to love, to care for, to unite with, to bond with, to have relationships with? But because we have bought into these illusions of narcissism, we fail to connect. Our misunderstandings of who's responsible for our happiness and emotional security. Who's responsible for our peace? Guess what? You are, and nobody else is. You are. Nobody else. Houston, we got a problem here. And we're on the way to fix it. You know, the theme of truth in Scorpio has everything to do with intimacy. It really does. Ultimately, intimacy is your courage and humility to reveal the depth of truth about yourself. The depth of truth that tempts you to shame. And that is the Black Moon Lilith effect of Scorpio. It is shame in intimacy. Boy meets girl, girl meets boy. And at the surface, it's all good. 5th house, 7th house, it's all good. But when it comes to the 8th house, oh man. Oh, I'm scared now. Yeah, I'm not as perfect as I don't got it all together. You know, I'm not doing too good over here, over there. You know, I got a skeleton or two in the closet. I walk funny. I got a big nose. I got big ears. I don't like my hair. All of the things that people will get in the comment section on the internet and light your ass up about, you're terrified to connect with that person because of such things. Look at how we have trained ourselves to sabotage our own intimacy. Some people don't know the difference, especially depending on how young you are, you know. But 42, I lived in a time where this was not an issue. I lived in it. And looking back, it was beautiful. I didn't realize how good we had it back then. I'm not saying it was perfect, not by any means, but we had acceptance of each other, and intimacy was more possible. It was accessible. We weren't so self-conscious about everything. We're learning that there's levels of ourselves that are not going to be known, not going to be witnessed, not going to be celebrated, not going to be connected with, not going to be shared, not going to be nurtured, not going to be embraced. No one can advocate for it if you refuse to reveal it. The most important part of yourself is that depth of yourself, because that's where the truth of yourself is with Scorpio. It's the depth of self. If that part of you is not known, connected with, and celebrated and appreciated, embraced by the other person, you can't get to an intimate status. And if you do not have intimate status in your life, you will feel unknown. You will feel isolated. You will feel lonely. Now we understand what's been happening. The loneliness epidemic. It's a byproduct of our disconnect from intimacy. You have to have someone or some others who support you and connect with you at the depth of you, which is the part of you that stands in a spirit of humility, grace, imperfections, inconsistencies, bruises, cuts, and scrapes, drama, pain, tears, and shame, regret, disappointment. Yeah, every one of us has that in the spirit. And the real you is right there. And that's the part of you that has to be connected with. Because if you can't connect with this part of me, if I can't connect with that part of you, you remain unknown. To be unknown is isolation and loneliness. Understand? We have to experience the power of trust. The power of trust. Everyone has secrets. Everyone has those vulnerabilities and those imperfections about themselves that it takes another person to nurture into confidence. It takes another person to nurture it into full acceptance. It takes another person to help you to heal it. We are limited in what we can accomplish in the healing of the self. We are limited. There's a limitation to that. You have to get others involved to complete it. Understand? Otherwise, we cannot stand authentic in the energy and expression of Sagittarius in the 9th house, because we couldn't get help to get there. The 8th house, Scorpio, is not a house of isolation. It is a house of unification based on trust. It is a house of shared power, shared vulnerabilities, shared secrets at the depth. It is where information can harm you or help you. It is where status can harm you or help you if it should be known or revealed or expressed, if it should be put on record. If we don't learn how to move through the 8th house, we do not have access to appropriate power. We also cannot get to the authenticity. You can't stand authentic if someone at the depth has not helped you to nurture that which you have a reflex to feel ashamed of in your expressions. Something about your status that doesn't meet up to the standard of society or the standard of what has been determined as normal or acceptable or good. And you hang your head down low about it. But at an intimate level, you connect with someone who is trustworthy with your secrets, trustworthy with knowledge of who you are at that depth. And through their awareness of that and their intention of compassion for you, of love for you, fulfilling trust with you, they have access to that part of you so that they can nurture you back to acceptance in yourself, celebrate you back into acceptance of yourself, encourage you back into consistency with expressing yourself as you are, helping you to accept that your natural status and capacity that is very limited. It's not an error. It's not a fault. It's not a shortcoming. It is the best that you can do. And because of that, it is abundance for you. We have to have someone in our corner, or we have to have those of our tribe who understand that this is what we need. And this is what we're also willing to do in exchange. And what we will find is greater confidence in the status of our authenticity. Because someone else helped me to understand that it's okay to be exactly who I am, as I am, to the best of my ability. This is me. This is the best that I could do in this season. And there are people who are celebrating me at being the best that I could be at this season. That right there is what transfers us to the fulfillment of Sagittarius in our being and expression. That is where that confidence comes from. But when there's shame, guilt, damnation, harsh criticism, harsh scrutiny, South Node Virgo, Black Moon Lilith, concerning these things, we lose connection with intimacy. We begin to fear intimacy. We begin to hide and become secret. That's what's dangerous about the culture of shaming that we have. We have a culture of constant shaming. Insults. Beating each other's spirit into the fucking ground for not being perfect. It's cruelty. It's bullying. This cruelty and bullying, it destroys the access of intimacy for too many. For a good laugh, laughing, holding your stomach as you make fun of somebody for something that they can't help. As you make laughing stock of somebody's capacity in life and status that they have created out of the best of what they can do in that season, and you laugh till your stomach hurt, you always got jokes about it. That's something personally that I do not like about the African American community. That's what I don't like. Our community is too quick to make laughing stock of fucked up shit. It's too much hazing and it's too much bullying. From the families to the school hallways, work environments, it's embedded in the culture to shame, insult, guilt, disrespect, and laugh at other people's pain. And really what we're doing when we participate in that is we're closing people off from intimacy. We're sending a cold freeze, a cold wave throughout the community that stalls everyone's ability to connect at deep and sincere levels with love and compassion. And that's how people become hardened. People become cold and desensitized. It's how isolation and loneliness takes over and it corrupts the spirit because everybody doesn't know what to do with that. You end up somewhere where you didn't know how you got there. And that's usually through sexual promiscuity, abuse, or other means of remedying or pacifying or dealing with those inadequacies. You grow up around African American females especially. There is no bigger bully in the earth when it comes to shaming people. When it comes to just beating up and destroying another human being's ability to connect deeply, intimately, and vulnerably. African American females are ferocious when it comes to this, like a pack of wild animals and hyenas. I am not shy to say it. I'm trying with my communication, but it's some things that I cannot be sincere about. I cannot be forthcoming about with my South Node Sagittarius if I'm not saying it. So y'all got to give me grace here. I'm trying. I don't know how to be any other way. I'm trying to learn. You know what I mean? I'm saying what the fuck I mean. I'm saying what I mean from my heart. I'm saying what I really, really mean. I watched it all my life. If you grow up around black women, they will destroy. They will either make you or break you when it comes to your self-esteem. Bullies. I have never seen bigger bullies. We're dealing with the consequences of this legacy, and we have to heal it. If we're going to get to authenticity, we have to first get to the intimacy. Learning how to connect the depth again. And to do that, you have to get to the truth of you, which includes everything that you might be ashamed of about yourself, your status, your identity, your capacity, your access, what you do or don't want to be in life, your interests, everything about you. Call to mind, even as I'm saying this, where has intimacy presented itself in your life? Where have you been tested with intimacy? Where have you been examined with intimacy? Where have you been challenged with intimacy? Where have you been invited to intimacy, but you sabotaged it? You bailed out. You made it look like it was something else or someone else's fault that you didn't follow through. You hijacked it. You ran off. Mercury retrograde is bringing this into closer perspective. And Mercury in Scorpio, it's a communication style that doesn't say anything unless it feels safe, unless it feels vulnerable enough to. And what is that? It's us not communicating unless it's intimately safe, unless it's emotionally safe. It's the introspective self that realizes that if I want intimacy out of others, I have to provide the safe space for them to open up and be intimate with me. So it's us realizing that we have to create safe space for each other if we're expecting that depth and transparency. You want the truth, you want the truth, you want the truth. But if somebody should be truthful, honest, or sincere, do they get beat up for it? Do they get punished for it? Do they get bullied for it? Do they become a laughing stock? Do they get shamed and insulted for it? Do they get criticized and scrutinized for it to a level that breaks them? We're part of the equation on whatever it is that we're expecting, and we should ask ourselves, what part am I playing to facilitate the desired or expected outcome? Which is better to say the desired outcome, because we can't place expectations, on others. Who's running away from intimacy? Huh? I've raised this question before, right? When was the last time that you apologized in a relationship? Not just romantic. When's the last time you apologized to someone? When's the last time that you initiated a resolution or solution to a conflict? When was the last time that you admitted that the relationship that you share with someone is experiencing misfortune or blockage because of what you realize you're doing or didn't do? I ask this question because if we can't answer positively to this question, could you be a little more narcissistic than you should be? Expecting that it's somebody else's job solely to maintain a relationship, to do the maintenance, the necessary maintenance on the relationship. It's for somebody else to open up to you, but you not to open up to them. It's for them to initiate correction and healing, reconciliation, atonement. But it's never on you to do that. Somehow they're at fault all the time, but you mysteriously never have fault in a relationship. You never had reason to say, I apologize. I regret what I did or what I said. Some mysterious reason you never had to do that. How did you pull it off? How did you become so perfect? How did you do it? The truth is that we all need intimacy to get to authenticity. Because authenticity is something that has to be nurtured from the intimate connection, the intimate line. It has to be nurtured. In the intimate space, we mutually heal, support, pour into, encourage, defend, advocate, provide for. The vulnerabilities, the weakness and imperfections of each other. That is what every one of us needs on a one-to-one basis and on a collective basis as families and communities. That's what's going to make us stronger. That's what's going to make us more resilient. And that's what's going to make us show up more authentically as we approach every pursuit in our life. Because we're surrounded by people who pour into the most imperfect status of ourselves. It's also how we get help where we need it. How we get support where we need it. We all need help and support, encouragement, advocacy at the depth of ourselves in multiple places. But if we're not letting people in, it can't happen. And we can't have the excuse of, I can't trust nobody. I can't trust nobody? No, you can't trust yourself. Thus, you can't trust nobody. And that is the truth that we might be afraid to admit. So we got to get down to the bottom of why is that? Why don't you trust yourself? Why? We need intimacy. We've got to have intimacy if we're going to get to authenticity. That authenticity is, I'm confident enough, I'm convicted enough, I'm self-aligned, I'm aligned enough with truth to naturally flow as myself. Without shame, without guilt, without regret, without fear. I'm just being myself. I'm showing up as me because I have people in my life. I have someone in my life that celebrates me as I am, for who I am. That loves me, likes me, accepts me for just being, just existing as I am. We need that. And we should also know that somebody else needs that from you, and you should be willing to give it. Let's be intentional about it. Let's be trustworthy with each other's secrets. Let's cover each other's faults and vulnerabilities. Let's find out how we can reinforce where we see somebody might be weak and vulnerable without shaming them, without exposing, but uplifting them, encouraging them. Because at intimate spaces, intimate levels, somebody's trusting you not to hurt them. Somebody's trusting you not to shame them, not to humiliate them. Somebody's trusting you not to betray them. Trust is a serious matter. Do not break and betray trust. We have to become trustworthy with the vulnerabilities of each other. If you have access to someone intimately, pour into them while you're there. Since you have access, go ahead and pour water on them. Go ahead and pour ointment on their wounds. Go ahead and shelter them. Go ahead and, while you're there, since you're the one who has access to that person at that level, take care of them down there because they're trusting you. And we should have the decency to return it, to do the same for the one who's doing it for you. Come on. Some of us love to receive at those nurturing levels, but we fail to give the same way that we receive. And we should be careful that it doesn't become controlling. Because Scorpio energy can step into domination and control without knowing. Please listen to me in what I'm saying. Your expectations of someone should not become the demands of a person. In fact, you should never have expectations on what someone should do, agree to, how they should behave. And you should not manipulate a person into certain outcomes that you prefer of them. Stop fucking controlling people. Stop controlling motherfuckers out here. Fuck is your problem? Just because you have a vision over somebody, you have an ideal or concept about somebody, don't mean that that's what the fuck they see for themselves or want for themselves or prefer for themselves. Have some respect for the person's autonomy. Don't make somebody feel guilty or shame for saying yes when you want them to say no, or say no when you want them to say yes, or for being something contrary to what you want them to be, or what you see they have the potential to be but they prefer not. That is their fucking free will, and you don't have the right to shame or guilt trip a person for not fulfilling an expectation that you put on them at the depth. Fuck is wrong with you? Back the fuck off. You know what I mean? Back the fuck off. We innovate better when we transparent. You know, when I can safely tell you who I am and what I want or what I don't want or who I'm not, or, you know, when I can safely tell you that without you judging, criticizing, scrutinizing who I'm clarifying to you that I am, then you know how to show up for me. I know how to show up for you because I'm respecting your autonomy. I'm respecting your freedom. I'm respecting your unique identity. I'm respecting your free will. And if who you are doesn't complement, support, or find harmony with the other person, you could bow out gracefully, but no need for shame and insult, you know what I mean, and disrespect just because someone is different than you are. Another thing I wanted to go over. During the Sagittarius season, what I did get to notice, you know, through in the reading that I was doing, I had to look closer at some details that helped me to see that Venus is going to be with the Sun in what looks like a combustion position, just a few degrees apart, the entire time that is transiting through Sagittarius. And something that's unique about this that I want us to pay attention to is the fact that the Sun and Venus are just a few degrees apart as it transits the entire sign of Sagittarius during Sagittarius season. And what happens, if this truly is a combust expression, it's Venus holding out in minimalism. As the sun transits Sagittarius, this is a safety switch. All right? So put it on your calendar. During Sagittarius season, we all are going to get forward motion, an overwhelm of experiences that really makes life feel like an adventure. I'm going to tell you that good news right now, okay? You're going to feel like you got your mojo back, like you got some motion, and you do. But with Venus being combust or of just a few degrees within the sun's orbit, it weakens her magnetism to attract relationships and finances. So it will be within limitation to what you can identify with in relationships, material, and finance and status. Okay? Just think about this. Slow down. What's the benefit in that? The benefit in that is the fact that Sagittarius is going to subject the spirit to impulsive nature, experimentation, taking chances, gambling, taking risk, jolting into action, jumping without looking. If Venus identifies with the sun, which is your heart, soul, urge expression, being impulsive through Sagittarius as it is supposed to do, based on its expression of itself as the Fool card that is headed for the World card after the Death card. The fact that Venus is not close enough to the sun or Cazimi in its connection with the sun, it doesn't open its purse to you. It doesn't overwhelm you with a crowd of new faces. It's a story of no new friends. Okay? So it's like Venus is put in position to not distract you as you explore. To not distract you with an overwhelm of options, an overwhelm of choices. To not distract you with access to use money or relationships to practice escapism. To fall into or recess back into addictive behaviors impulsively. To not sabotage yourself through Venus and relationship finances in a spirit of consumerism or sexual promiscuity. She's far enough from the sun to where she withholds excessiveness, giving you just enough to fund exploration, but not exploitation of yourself. Okay? That is a detail that I want us to think about because it keeps us consistent with honoring the process that's taking place and what it is meant for. Understand? So this is Venus walking with you, who has the ability to connect you with relationship, finance, material, status, these different things. Okay? Everything that you could misuse addictively or as a means of escape that can become distractions. She stays in position so that she does not distract you. She's just close enough so that she can support you, so that she can fund your fool's journey. so that she can finance your fool's journey. And also so that she can keep you in sight of those intimate connections through your fool's journey that allows you to remain in a nurturing position with your authentic expression. But not enough for you to ruin yourself. That's something that we should pay attention to and appreciate, that there's intent over us that means well for us. Understand? So anyway, it's about intimacy, you know what I mean? That gets us to authenticity. We're going from the death card to the fool card, which ultimately arrives at the world card. And Sagittarius is certainly about religion, because it is to practice what you believe. It is to exemplify what you believe in. Okay? And that is religion. To exemplify what you believe in. To regulate what you believe in. To make lifestyle of, to make culture of what you believe in. To make systematic of what you believe in. And next is Capricorn, which is the systematization of beliefs. It is to make systematic the religious beliefs. And when the stellium of Capricorn is in transit, that is when we will incorporate into the infrastructure of our life the recovery of our deepest convictions of the self. Understand? But as the stellium of Sagittarius passes, this is us embodying what we believe. This is also us nurturing in full capacity our authenticity that we recovered from our vulnerability to be intimate enough with others. Understand? So the stellium for the rest of the year until 2026 is going to pass through Sagittarius. This includes Venus, the Sun, Mars, Black Moon Lilith, which is going to be 9 months in Sagittarius, Mercury, Vesta just finished in Sagittarius, going into Capricorn. We have Juno in Sagittarius. So the stellium passing through Sagittarius is going to finish up this year. And this is all about religiously expressing who you are, religiously expressing your life purpose, your calling, your heart, soul, urge expression, what you know you are here to do and be and bring into the world. The deep convictions that you once were ashamed of, but now you finally are not. You connected to the intimacy that helps you to nurture a recovery from such shadow work. It's about making that a reality into your life and testing what now is possible in this status of the self, being so deeply authentic. What now is possible? And then we have the stellium going through Capricorn, and that's when we incorporate into the infrastructure of our life and make systematic what gets us to the future view through the spirit. What gets us to the future view through the spirit? What are the long-term projects based on this new status in ourself? The long-term projects, understand? Okay, so it goes in order. This is something that you definitely want to look into on a personal level to understand for yourself, including the intimacy and how you transfer from intimacy into authenticity, what it means for you according to your natal birth chart. to also understand how you're going to be finishing out the year with the stellium of Sagittarius and then the stellium of Capricorn. And what truth do you have to remember to remain aligned with? So this is a good time, to schedule for the natal birth chart reading or inquiry so that there's a detailed and personalized awareness of these things rather than this general culmination, of what's passing and what's going on. Like, share, subscribe, show your support. Thank you for being here, for listening. The infamous